Hello, Sally Rippin here. Just wanting to give a huge thanks to all the booksellers across the country for all your support for School of Monsters. I'm so excited to have another series in the world, and I'm really excited to talk to you a little bit more about the ideas behind these books. I just wanted to introduce you to the ideas behind the series. So a lot of thought went into creating this, and I guess we're thinking of the way that they can be used comes under the headings of read aloud, read along, and read alone. So read aloud in that, first of all, a parent or a carer, an adult, will sit with a child and read the whole story out to them. So it's simple, it's rhyming, it's silly, there's lots going on in the pictures to engage the child, and that is really just the first and most important activity, that kids have that experience of hearing something read aloud. Then kids may be brave enough to try sounding out some words for themselves. So they may have started to receive a little bit of reading teaching at school. So they may have learnt some of these words or some of the sounds like pet and yet, some of the simpler ones in here, Ted and fet. And so then the process will be that an adult will read part of the sentence to the child, and then they can read those big words in bold themselves. And of course, eventually the most exciting part is when the child wants to run away with the book and have a go at reading the whole thing for themselves. So we've thought about how the best way we can entice kids to want to read is to create great stories and great characters, but I've also worked very hard to use the simplest vocabulary possible so that they can build up the confidence to read the books for themselves. When it came to having the books illustrated, this was the most fun part. I mean, it really is the best part of working in a collaborative team. So I was working with my publisher, the wonderful Marissa Pintado, and we were lucky enough to have Chris Kennett come on board quite early on. And so the whole process of putting the books together was very much a collaboration. It was a lovely thing to be doing during lockdown. And I had an idea of what I hoped the illustrations would be like, but I have to say, in all honesty, they're even better than I could have imagined. So Chris's background is in animation, and it was quite important to me that the look of the characters could almost look like something that children might see in an animation or potentially in a movie. And now this is because so many kids across the country, but I would say across the world, are very familiar with stories that are told on screen. So they've got Monsters Inc., they've got Hotel Transylvania, Addams Family, all of those kind of stories. But always, as a children's author, I'm trying to bring them back to books. And so if I wanted a style that could look familiar to them, accessible, potentially like something that they've seen on television, I guess is really what I'm trying to say. But bring them back to the book, bring them back to understanding that once you unlock reading, that you can have all those stories come to yourself. You don't just have to sit and absorb them passively through a screen, which is it's a really big leap. So Chris has just created this incredible world, and oh my goodness, I cannot tell you how thrilled I am with them. I mean, even just starting with the incredible school that he's drawn. On all the pages here, you'll see that there's a lot of repetition, because I think kids like that idea of familiarity. They know how each book is going to start. But you can find this little wormy guy on every page. This goggly-eyed guy moves across, and the bats are different on every page too. So all these lovely little things for kids to look out for. Plus all the movement, all the fun, all the action comes across in his illustrations, and the characters are just so lovable. So it really was an amazing experience having the chance to work with Chris, and he really has just taken this world and built it and really brought it to life in a way that I cannot be more grateful for. I love the look of them. I hope that the children that come into your bookstores will be as attracted to them as I am.
Hello, my name is Chris Kennett, and I am the illustrator of The School of Monsters. So when I first started out designing the monsters for these books, I wanted to make them as cute as possible, because these are books for younger readers. So having monsters that are too scary is going to be a little bit off-putting. We want to encourage them to read. We don't want to scare them away from reading. So that was quite important. Also, I wanted to make them quite simple in shape. I wanted to make them sort of distinct and recognizable from each other, and so have clear silhouettes. So the different shapes and different sizes, which could easily be identifiable and recognizable as for each character. And then from there, they all have their own distinct color as well, which is also quite important in being able to recognize what character is what and who is who in the stories, because sometimes the characters join in with each other's stories, so they might be sort of lurking in the background, and so if they're easily recognizable by shape and by color, that's really important just for the visual storytelling. I was really pleased that we got to include a how to draw segment in these books. Often there's not enough room or space to be able to do something like this, but this just adds another level of interactivity into the stories, which I really appreciate. And one of the things I wanted to really focus on when designing the characters was to make them easy to replicate. And I know that on the surface they can look a little bit more complicated, but what I like to do in the how to draw sections is to actually really boil them down to their really base shapes and use really simple instructions, and hopefully the kids can follow along with those.